6 points clear of the new firm, a game in hand on each of the new firm sides. So this idea that Philippe Clement was going to drag us down into third place, that he was going to give up even second place, has been completely put to bed as the juggernaut of consistency of 2 points per game in this league season for Rangers. That's us 20 games played, 40 points on board. It's just leaving the rest of the rest in our wake. Igaman, Hamza Igaman, young player, great buy from Moroccan football. Who's he? Why are we spending so much money in this nobody? Well, he scored a hat-trick today, the perfect hat-trick. Left foot strike, header, right foot strike. And each of the goals he scored, an assist from a different player in the 4-2-3-1 formation, the three sitting behind, supporting the one striker. Well, each of the three supplied a goal to young Igaman. We are absolutely frightening in the leaps and bounds, going forward type stuff, and everybody's happy. It's the Christmas decorations coming down. Obviously, they've had to come down. The Christmas tree goes down. It always snows light as it snows bright in the house. And you're just kind of left with the fact that the nights are really dark, as are the mornings. And of course, you can't enjoy the Marks and Spencer's turkey anymore. I've tried the cranberry, so I've got some cranberry sauce left, and I've been trying that with the Bernard Matthews chicken chunks. It's just not the same at all. In fact, it's a bit of an insult to the main treat of the festive period. The memory of that fast fading. I couldn't even enjoy Liverpool against Man United. You're looking forward to sitting back and watching that. But if you were looking forward too much to watching that in a good mood, then you don't really know what's happening with Rangers just now, do you? You've not really been watching. I remember long before Rangers had a match at the same stadium, which ended 0-0 on a day that we eventually won the title or won promotion. I can't actually remember. I was at Lynx Park in Montrose. My friend and me, I've mentioned this before, in the late 90s, early 2000s, knowing that we would never get to see Rangers playing at these stadiums. If we were ever going to complete every league stadium in Scotland, we'd have to go there on the day that, because if we played Stenhousemuir or East Stirlingshire or East Fife or something like that away in the cup, they'd move it. They'd move the game to a bigger stadium to get a bigger crowd in there. Probably a safety issue anyway. There's no way. And Rangers obviously always been the top flight. That would never happen. So late 90s, early 2000s, we were at Lynx Park, Montrose, to see East Stirlingshire draw. I think they drew 0-0. I can't even remember the result. It was all about the day out. It was all about ticking off one of those little grounds. It was a joy. You felt that you were really contributing to the lower leagues of Scottish football in a way that most Rangers fans would never get the opportunity to do. And at the end of the game, an East Stirlingshire supporter just turned. We're all heading back to this pub, a lovely pub, just quite near the station in Montrose. And this East Stirlingshire fan took a plastic bag on his programme or a programme collection or something in the plastic bag, but he just turned round and he looked up the full length of the pitch and he went, "Back to the Shire, back to reality." And I don't know why that came back to me. Today, because obviously I've stayed in Glasgow for years now, for over half my life. Now I've stayed in Glasgow, but originally I'm from Ayrshire, not Stirlingshire, like that fella. I'm from Ayrshire, North Ayrshire, Ardrossan. And I was sitting the other night after the bells, and I don't like all the kind of hoots maw and biscuit tin stuff on the telly, and I don't like the what was the Hootin' Annie, Jules Holland Hootin' Annie. That's a bit embarrassing. I'm taking a real dislike to Jules Holland these days. He seems like another posh bloke who's getting to live all his hobbies and make money off all the things that he loves do. Just anyway, I think his wife's dad had a lot of money. He's rich. That's bitter. That's just bitter. But switched over to the music channel. Like, saying, what's all the music channels that we used to watch? I don't know what happened. It's probably before we're really on YouTube all the time. It was like, again, the same period of time, late 90s, early 2000s. Sometimes we'd been out with my wife or whatever, and we'd come back to the house and we'd stick on the telly and you'd go to the music channels that were was it MTV and stuff like that. I remember Kerrang. Kerrang's, I love a bit of heavy metal. I love a bit of hard rock and that kind of stuff. But it just got to a point that I remember going to Kerrang and is it Good Charlotte and My Chemical Romance and stuff like that. It was like, this isn't rock. It was like boy bands with spiky hairdos, and it was tinny plastic. It was like Stock Aitken Waterman-esque kind of stuff. And even in my most rabid, I don't care what I'm dancing to as long as it's modern days of my youth and all that, there was a limit to the kind of commercialism of the music that I would listen to. But this is wrong. This isn't. I mean, even Slipknot for me are basically a kind of boy band, trying to be pure hard and all that. It's like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. and the Rat Pack. They're all wearing the suits and the mellow voices, crooning love songs, beautifully articulated love songs. And that they would all beat the living shit out of anybody. And Slipknot, that kind of confusion that goes on where when you're young, you think you're a real hard case doing singing music about death and slashing yourself and stuff like that makes you somehow tough. But it's actually the folk that have been through tough stuff and just want to enjoy life. They're the real stuff. That kind of lies somewhere in between in my attitudes to music in general, whatever. But I was like, but watch these music channels. And it was just out of nowhere, flicking through, eventually found, so I had to get the guide up, on the old Virgin TV, and eventually found where the music channels were, and it was great. What would listen to? It was power ballads, like listen to it, and on came Styx, and it just took me right back to the Shire, right back to North Ayrshire, and it was an Amstrad, the old Amstrad cassette radio thing. It's Alan Sugar that made them, and it was. I remember my pal in the days. It was still the days of, I think, even the days before putting sellotape on the tab of the video record. I think the Blues Brothers, recording the illegal recording of the Blues Brothers over the Scotland versus Brazil game for the previous summer's World Cup. It was 1983 before we got a video in Mum and Dad's house. And the Blues Brothers was the first thing we watched on video. But I think even before then, it would be that one of the boys we hung about used to hang about in each other's house night. You're just getting to that age of kind of 10, 11. You're always listening to music, loving music. But about 11, 12, you start to get a bit more emotional in that really kind of raw, uncultured, unsophisticated way with anything that's got any emotion in it. It just starts to... And Styx, the kind of Coldplay of the day. I didn't realise at the time, my pals, it was his big brother was heavily into his music. He was in the police, so he had lots of disposable income, still staying with his mum and dad, obviously. And his wee brother Craig, he'd have all these cracking albums. We'd go into theirs and we'd play darts while listening to all these magic albums in their bedroom. The two boys in the bedroom, the girl was all plastered with all these pictures for all the music magazines, all the different bands and all that. It was not a flock of seagulls and that. It was great. But this band Styx, and it's like, what kind of name is that for a band? Styx, it's Sticks and Stones and Bricks or whatever. No, it's STYX. I don't know if it's a place in Illinois or if it's just to the river Styx from mythology or whatever like that. But I bang it on. Oh, phenomenal, absolutely tremendous. And then REO Speedwagon. It was, that's just. And I was listening to him the other day, and I'm, this takes me back. And you get that rush, that kind of thrill of what it was like as a kid, and literally was a child still at the time, like 11, 12-ish, when you're hearing this. It might have been a year earlier that I heard Upstairs at Eric's Yazoo for the first time ever, because you're getting music at various times throughout your life. You're not just like listening to an album the minute it comes out. No, it doesn't work like that chronologically, but you start to get a bit of a musical education. Mum and Dad, they'd listen to anything, the Stones, Johnny Cash. Their musical taste was fantastic. So there was always music getting played in the house. Mum and Dad were quite young parents, so there was always parties going on when I was growing up. My sister and I had a great kind of popular music education that way. But still, and I remember in the Amstrad recording, you tape stuff off the radio and stuff like that, but playing Styx that my pal had recorded for his big brother's like vinyl album. Just like stuff so emotional. I couldn't remember a single song off the top of my head, but I heard it the other night and I'm like, is that yacht rock? Because there's a thing maybe yacht rock, and this has happened to me a few times recently. Through the years, what is it? Sailing, Christopher Cross. That's just I know it's a bit naff, and maybe some of the hardcore music you'd be looking down your nose at it, but there is absolutely no denying that it's great music. It's technically fantastic music. Hall and Oates, I loved a bit of Hall and Oates when I was a kid as well. I can't go for that. Oh, and it wasn't just the kind of clinical perfection of the music. It was the glamour that it would bring to you, and also it reminds you of being young. That thing that happens when you know, it doesn't matter what age you get to, you remember a good song, a good book, a good movie, anything will take you back. A taste of something, the Proust Madeleines and all that kind of stuff will take you back to à la recherche du temps perdu. It will take you back to the moment, and I get a wee hint of how you felt back then. And the main thing I felt was I had hair and I was thin. I had hair and I was thin, and life could be. Say two folk, a New Year in the early 80s, when I was a kid, two folk next door set the house on fire and killed themselves, and their bodies were out in the front. No, just going to sleep with a fag. And I tell you, the stuff over Hogmanay and all that. We're previewing the Old Firm game. It's quite hard at New Year. Life can be quite tough. There was two bodies out in the front garden. That was your Happy New Year, 1st of January. The folk next door falling asleep. The old fag things. People did that in the days. They'd be drinking and all that and fall asleep with a cigarette in the bed or whatever, and the smoke inhalation. And that was them. But it felt glamorous because we had sticks and we had REO Speedwagon and we had all the heavy duty chords and they were smooth and they were glamorous. I was watching it all night and the guy, I think it's REO, no, it's Sticks, REO Speedwagon. Well, I can't remember one of the guys he was not the main singer, but he was in a wee song of his own, and he had a haircut like Gail Tilsley, for Coronation Street, like it was in the 70s with her. He just looked the same thing, and he looks positively repellent. The guy, you just go, oh Jesus! But it was glamorous then, his kind of silky shirt he's got on and all that, and he's got a kind of medallion and just looks like just, you wouldn't be trusting him with your daughter in the after show party kind of thing. But it's just fantastic music there, and it just can't help getting a wee twinge of the good old days. Everything was so exciting back then because I was thin and I had hair, and I'm telling you a few pods ago about sitting at Broomhill Cross. Is it Broomhill Cross? Broomhill, something to get in touch. It's tap of Broomhill Drive anyway. In the motor, just waiting because there's a filter lane off to the left. But I try to go through the lights at the red and go past that Wee Paris, the place called Wee Paris. And I was going about how why do you call it, spelling it WEE space Paris? Just let us the OUI, do the French for so we'll work out that it's yes Paris, but also Wee Paris. You make the rhyme yourself. Oh, it's Wee Paris. It's on the corner there. If you know in the kind of Broomhill area, Broomhill Cross. Somebody was telling me they call it. But also what I was looking at that day was next to the left, and I go walk down there all the time when I'm going out for the walks I'll now be doing from now until when's the next holiday. The walks need to do every day miles to lose the weight before I have the heart attack or whatever with the weight I've put on. But I walk past it all the time and I notice I go past Wee Paris, and then there was two hairdressers, and a lot of hairdressers in that wee part. It's a kind of part of that wee bit of Crow Road, the original Crow Road, with the sandstone tenements and what have you. It's very posh. It's trying to be trendy or giving off the vibe of being a kind of bohemian Strasse or whatever, but it's the West End without the students. The only students in that part of the West End are the waiting staff or whatever, or whoever's washing your hair, and the hairdressers or the waiting staff in the bars or wee restaurants. Whatever. It's nice though. It is nice, but I never really stopped there. But I walk past it and I'm sitting at Broomhill and I see them all the time, and it's the two hairdressers. I think they're virtually next door to each other, either side of a wee newsagents. And one of them's Crinis Formé. I think it's next to Wee Paris. So it gives it quite a French vibe. Crinis Formé. Excuse my pronunciation if that's wrong. And then you get newsagents, and then the other side of that, it was Charles Spears. And I used to always think about going in there, not because I don't have it, but Charles Spears used to work at Francis John, which was the trendy salon in Saltcoats when I was in my late teens and early 20s. And Charles Spears was the guy, and he was like the main guy, and he was a genius with the haircuts, and he cut my hair a few times, and I used to feel like, I'll just go in there and I'll say hello to Charles Spears. Remember me? Because he should remember me, because it was that whole thing where you grow, yes, the music, and you're hearing Sticks, and you're hearing REO Speedwagon, and you're absolutely loving it, and it's the sound of Chicago as well. Ario Speedwagon. One of them is actually from Chicago itself. Then you get the band Chicago, no Pete Satira. I think there's some of the stuff for them. Again, you're thinking, oh, part cringe, but part taking me back to when I was a kid and that kind of cleanliness of it. And I thought, is this yacht rock? It's no, it's soft rock. It comes from prog rock. These guys had all been gone since the late '60s, and they'd got to the height of smooth by the time 11-year-old, 12-year-old me was hearing them. I was also into like Madness and the Specials and all that at the same time, you know, and Bad Manners, naff stuff, great stuff and all that. And I'm watching this channel all night, and I'm hearing, what was it, Taylor Dane, tell it to my heart, tell me I'm the only one. I bought that. I bought that when I was, whatever age it was when that was out. Was that kind of mid-80s till I was 16, 17 or something, and I just thought it was great. It was proper trendy. It made me feel like I was in New York or something like that. You know, and I was watching it all night and going, that's just rank. She's just saying tell it to my heart endlessly. And I remember my dad slagging it at the time, but he was bald. And he wasn't fat, but he certainly wasn't thin like I was at the time when Taylor Dane was doing Tell It To My Heart. I was buying the fancy trousers with the zips up the pockets and what have you, and eventually got to I remember when I started working, I left school at 16, and I started working in the local ATMA as the head office. It was in Saltcoats. Tell you, that was like a big local employer. So I went and got a dog's body job in there because I just wanted to go to the Fitba. But also, you've got other things in your mind at that age. So I was trying to buy the trendiest of gear or whatever. You got with my pals, got drinking. I remember there was a quiz night in the Sea Mill Hydro, and one of my mates had a bunch of other mates that he knew for West Kilbride and all that I wasn't that friendly with. I didn't really know them. He knew me through the FIT. We played 11 sides for the teammates head office FITBA team in a pub league on a Sunday. So I got to drink with him, and I met his other mates, and some of them they'd all been to uni and what have you. And that's when I started getting ideas about, maybe I could go to uni. And we went to the pub quiz on the Thursday night at the Sea Mill Hydro, and the guy did a music round, and one of the songs, and by this time, Styx and Ario Speedwagon were ancient history because it's like about 5 years ago, and how time moves on when you're a kid. And I'm like, that Styx, and it helped win us the quiz. So they were like really impressed that I knew about Styx and all that, and we're talking about music, and suddenly we're all pals. And it was just that era where I was staying with mum and dad, but using their place like a hotel. I remember at one point there was 4 consecutive weeks, where I was never. I was always end up in the house. I'd always end up at home like 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, whatever like that. Crash, but I had enough money for my job and enough ability to use credit cards and stuff like that. I would be going to see Rangers midweek, play 5s or 7-a-sides. I think it was on a Thursday night, and we played 11s on a Sunday, and we played it was 7-a-sides also on a Monday night. That was the 2 pubs in Sea Mill against each other. 2 week in a hotel, Boozers and Sea Mill against each other, and then played for the worst team on a Sunday, and there was another game on the Thursday night as well. But you'd go and see Rangers in Europe or the League Cup or whatever midweek, or Scotland, and then go and see Rangers all over the country, just wherever Rangers were playing, home and away. You'd go and follow them on a Saturday. And that in between times, you did the pub quizzes that the various boozers would go to, and there was some other things. But at one point, it had been 4 consecutive weeks, and I'm working. It wasn't in holiday or anything like that. But I was not home a single night. I don't know where I got the money. I don't know where I got the time. I don't know where I got the energy. But I was thin and I had hair. And all this music makes them. And I looked up Chicago and Styx, and often one of them's from Chicago as well as Chicago, the group. The other one's from Champaign, Illinois. And I looked up Champaign, Illinois, and I've never heard the place, Champaign, Illinois. It's fairly near Chicago, I'd imagine. And there's a stadium there. It's one of the college stadiums, in the college football, like the Gridiron, in the States. There's all these teams that you never heard of. No, because for me, I remember the Chicago Bears winning the Super Bowl 20, the 85 Bears, the Fridge and all that, Mike Singletary, these kind of guys. They were my team. They still are. I love that team. But they pasted the Patriots and New Orleans. But the Chicago, I don't know what the Illinois, the Fighting Illinois, from Illinois Tech or Illinois University, whatever it is. This stadium they've got, it holds like 64,000. 64,000. Unbelievable. These amazing stadiums, and it's almost like it's better / worse than the NFL stuff, isn't it? Because the history of the NFL, it's like the college football. is the main thing in the States, and the NFL's a bit tacky. Real football fans probably more into the American football fans into the college stuff. But this stadium, it's holds 70 odd thousand, and it's the fighting element. It's Memorial Stadium. I think its biggest crowd was 74,000. I look this kind of stuff up, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's just all part of the whole thing of REO Speedwagon and Sticks. I remember that is one of the videos I saw the other one in the morning, just after the bells, was the guys actually got a Chicago Cubs top on, old school Chicago Cubs top on, while he's sitting playing with his organ and belting out this song. And I remember that, it made me feel so glad. And I think without knowing, they'd communicated to me just the glamour of living, and no, that you just don't care about what the football is all about, or any racism or anything that's involved in it, or the skewed economics of the American system. You're just like, of life in the States. And this is just amazing. This is just glamour. This isn't a Drossen. This is the other. And they've got 70,000 capacity stadiums for teams that we've never even heard of, and it's coming through the songs that they're singing, and it's soft rock. It's progressive rock becoming soft rock. It's not. Then you get the yacht rock as well, and I don't want to like it in my later years because it's. But I think HBO are doing a documentary. I'm trying to get a hold of that about yacht rock. There's a famous yacht rock video, been doing the rounds for years on YouTube. And Katie Puckrick did a thing on the BBC about yacht rock, and it features this thing that's on YouTube. It's kind of a skit by a group of young yacht rock fans impersonating all the different members of all the different bands, and it's really I love it. I really love it. It's good. I can't help it. It's a kind of teddy bear, cozy, like a security blanket thing that you hold tight to you. And I'm sitting at the top of Brimhill Drive, and I'm looking, and I'm like, Charles Spear, and it took me back to when I started realising these boys, I could go to university, maybe I could get myself a bit in education, because I'm not that happy in my job, but just because I was doing so much partying, and I was listening to a lot of like Alexander O'Neill and Luther Vandross and all that, and some of that drops away later in life. You realise it's not very good quality stuff. Jelly Bean was a great producer and all, and Janet Jackson, that just seemed fantastic. And it was kind of New Jack Swing stuff and all that. A lot of absolute bilge. But at the time, he didn't really care. Just the general kind of feeling. Bobby Brown, and it was good stuff. And I don't mean the Rangers goalie, legend. But at that time, everyone just seemed so glad. You were just young, you were thin, and you had hair. And I was enjoying all that, but I was starting to realise that not only was I exhausted because of the partying I was doing to keep the kind of dream alive, but I was realising I shouldn't have left school. I should have stayed and got some hires and all that, and I was going to have to go back to uni and try and do something with all this, because all I was doing in a lot of these nights, so it was just talking about Fitbit endlessly, and thank God I've grown up and I've stopped doing that. But folk will listen to you when you're thin and when you've got hair, and I eventually would go to, the girlfriend, she was glamorous, she loved the music and all that kind of stuff, but just, watch, like, you see Love Island and all these kind of young folk these days, and the guys are getting and the lassies are all pneumatic and stuff, and it's like, oh God, why are you doing? And folk that were into Coldplay or various groups, I'm like, that is just crap. That's like, why you did? But you forget that you were the same at that age. Obviously didn't do but that wasn't a thing in the late 80s and early 90s. The young guys getting pumped up and all that, and pure working out. It was how much drink you could have and still get up in time to play against the Fiddlers or the Sheelan in the Largs and District Sunday League up at Inverclyde, and then go back to the Galleon afterwards and watching Serie A on the telly, having a few beers with the trousers that zips up the side of the pockets. And I would do all that, but I'd realise I need to move on. So I went to hires. I did night school to get my hires. I'd left before I got my hires, and because nobody in my family really went to university, and then I went to uni, and the last year I was going to, she was great, and we'd met like kind of 89 and all that, where all the clubbing and what have you, and it's just that kind of one of the relationships. Everybody we knew were both like, she was a couple of years older than me. I was just like kind of hitting 20 when we met. And I'd go to I was having to go to France. I'd realised I was going to have to go to Francis John to get me in. And the first time I went into Francis John, it was a lassie that I worked with. She'd tell me, I go to Francis John and blah, 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 do this, do that. And I just chanced it because I knew I was going to need to step up my game. It came to get myself a lady and all that. And I went into Francis, and they did that thing, we'll take you through to wash your hair, sir. And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. And I walked out. I stormed out because they were going to take me to wash my hair. I was obviously really embarrassed at the thought of going to play. And I tell her, she's like, that's what they do all the time. So I don't know when the next time I went back in, and I was like, aye, I'll let you wash my hair, and they get the fancy cut and all that, and that was me. I was sorted, the old suede jacket and the trousers with the zip up the pockets and the hair, and I was thin and all that as well. And that was fine. And we were in a relationship for years, and it's folk that we knew, folk who they were always going to weddings, folk were all getting married. And the whole time we were going out together, we were out together for a few years, and that they were all splitting up because they were realising they'd things that they hadn't properly grown up before. I still haven't grown up, but so we never really committed the full way, but we stayed together. And then she was telling me, "You need to go to uni. You need to go to uni." She hadn't been to uni. She was amazingly skillful with interior decorating and all that, and an artist. But she's like, "You're going to have to go to university because it's doing your nut." And so that meant I'm having to save up money to pay her debt. So we're not going out as much and all that. And then I was supposed to be going to I went to uni, eventually got into uni, and you're going to get a summer job. You have to get a summer job, and there I'm in my early 20s, having to get summer jobs. And I'm like, right, okay. And I go to a place, it's a boozer in Tiree, the island of Tiree, to work with, to serve drink to all the surfers through the summer. Just the summer work, so I was going to go away and all that. I mean, you were kind of drifting apart because we're different. That way, none of us, we'd never moved in together. Our parents still was, he's not going to get mine, not going to. But we'd never committed to that because we knew we both had different ideas about what the future was going to hold. But that you need somebody else. You're that young age, you're thin, you've got hair, you got the trousers with the zips up the side, and you know that you want to get together. And you need to be with somebody, but it's not. You need to get away from your parents. And we had to kind of set up in our parents' houses that we could kind of be on my top without actually having to commit to going and buying a flat and stuff like that. But you're not really independent, and you're trying it out kind of thing. And it means that when you do go, you eventually meet something, you know everything that you need from life, and who you really want, and eventually that came to that. But as it was kind of getting towards the end, what would have happened if I'd gone to Tiree for the whole summer? Who knows? Maybe that'd been it. But our dad died. Mum and dad, great folk, total Tories, but devout Catholics. She wasn't interested in religion, and actually hadn't been to mass for years and that kind of thing. But we were just quite kind of posh. Yeah, especially compared to me. But our dad died, really tragic. He had a good life and all that, but it was really sudden. And I had an exam, so they're taking the coffin. The father was going to the church that night before the day before his funeral. So that day I had an exam, and I was that age where I was getting into a lot of fight. Just if you're young, tall in the west of Scotland, built up here, folk come and attack you in the street. So you have to, kind of. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you die. But you've just got to try and defend yourself and what happens. And she couldn't get her head around the fact that I wasn't doing anything to start this. We'd out and just try to get from one pub to another, and guys are literally just jumping me. They don't even know me because they're just good at that age, they're hitting folk. But that's what happens when you're thin. And you've got hair, and you get the pockets with the the zips up the side. And it's suede jacket, and the brown shoes. I had them on as well. The lovely the brown shoes. I looked in. They were kind of zipped up the side as well. They were pretty cool. But it just gets you attacked by other guys dressed with the same gear on, and so there was a bit of tension there. She would never understand that it wasn't my fault. It was just attracted to me. So sometimes I was getting told have a black eye and that kind of thing. Just for hanging about or drawing my pals maybe on a Friday night or something. I wasn't meeting her, and I'd turn up at hers the next day, black eye, nose or whatever like that, stitches and things like that. So she wasn't really understanding that. There was a tension there, and then the day her dad's funeral, I had an exam, one of my first exams at uni, and I was up all night studying for it. The exam was first thing in the morning, and I just needed to get a haircut, and because I was in the habit still of going to Francis John, even as a student. Must be my first year at uni as a mature student. So I'm staying in Ardrossan. I'm not going to tell you where she stayed, but it was further up the west coast. And I'm going up to Glasgow. Still staying with mum and dad. I hadn't moved up to uni yet, so still staying with mum and dad. I'm got the train first thing in the morning. Probably fell asleep in the train. Day of the exam. Can't remember how I got on. Probably not great. And it's then I've got to get myself down to Francis John to get and get my mum and dad's to get my gear on and that, to get the haircut, and then get mum and dad's house in Ardrossan to get the gear. And then I've got to go up to hers further up the coast to be there in time for her dad's fucking funeral. You know what I mean? It's just, And our families come up from England and that, and everybody's there. But you've got to be there. You've got to be. So I'd cancelled the trip to Tyree was going to be. So I'd cancelled all that. I wasn't going to do that. I was going to stay and make sure she was okay. And I had the exam, and I just on the way back to Central Station after the exam, I got the subway for Hill Head, and I'm into the Woolworths that used to be there. I think it was a pound stretcher now or something like that. Just on your way along Argyle Street, just across from where the Celtic shop is now. And I went in there it was a can of Coke, I think I was grabbing to perk myself up, because when I come out, I was going to get off a train at Saltcoats and go to Francis John for Charles Spears to give me my haircut, to make me look smart for this funeral in front of my girlfriend's family and all that. So I went in, it was a wee circular till in the middle of the floor, and I went in there, and I was like, right, can of Coke. But it was one of the tills all around the kind of circular, desk or whatever it was in the middle of the floor. So the queue was it was a lunchtime, so it was a lot of folk there. And I accidentally went and stood in front of a couple of folk who were in the queue. And I think they just, for some reason, I can't remember why, but it's like obvious, it was a couple of dudes that had just been at court. Probably across at the sheriff court. And one of them had his suit on, and the other one was his mate who didn't have the suit on, and it was like fucking stunning, trying to skip me, and I'm like, oh, and it was my fault. I wouldn't have been looking where I was going. My head was all over the place. I just had an exam. I'd be thinking about that. I was trying to get down to get a haircut, then get back to mum and dad's house, then get up to the shoot. And I'm like, oh no, sorry, pal. I think I did. Oh, sorry, mate, or something like that. I'm not your fucking mate. He's no your mate. And the two of them are kind of getting, all right, there's hundreds of folk about, and even the rest of the folk in the queue were just the kind of civilians are like, what the fuck? And I'm like, all right, I don't have time for this. I need to just kind of, plus you're scared. There's a couple of really scary dudes. And I'm no hard case or anything like that. So I was all right, head down and just let this go. Sorry about that. Just leave it at that. And got outside, and they said something else to me on the way out. And that just, do you know that? Just get that. And I know anyway, a hard case or that. But I had the hair. And I was thin, and I had the trousers with the zips in the pockets, and you just, Pete Satira and Chicago and Styx and REO Speedwagon, and you're like, yeah, I can't let them ruin the glamour of my life. There's something that's a step too far, whatever it was they said, and I thought I might die here, but I just couldn't. I'd been glassed and stuff like that, and various wee incidents, but I walked back to St Enoch's Underground, where I should have been going to Central Station, because I knew they'd be hanging about, and I had the can of Coke that I'd bought, and I pretended I couldn't see them, and eventually, of course, they come right up behind me, and as they go behind me, I turned around and hit one of the guys full in the face with the can of Coke, and then I just waited to get an absolute doing, and I was kind of throwing fists about that, but mostly they were battering the shit out of me, but I was just managing to stay up, and it just comes this, and this happened to me a lot of times, when I was living at the glamour of the New Jack Swing era, and I had the hair and the trousers and the zip on my thinness, something would happen that I was about to get an absolute doing, and then the police would turn up, and I'd get. And remember, there used to be a wee kind of police shop, literally a police shop, in the front of the Enoch Centre. Well, the policeman was obviously on his way back there for his lunch. And he just walked into these two guys about to give me a serious doing, and he just jumped in and he went, "What the fuck's going on?" I remember the guy he was lining up a volley. The other one had gone in the deck, no, because I'd hit him, but he tried to hit me so much. I think his mate had punched my head in, so my head had got out the way. The guy's fist had missed, and he'd end up in the deck. This is in the middle of St Enoch Square, lunchtime in a weekday. It was a nice day, I remember that. And this policeman comes up, big policeman. He's like, "Right, you fucking, what's going on here?" And I knew it straight away, like, he's attacked us. We were just walking down the street, minding our own business. And I'm like, freaking what? 2-on-1 up behind me, and you, but I kind of made it. And they were trying to do it in the shop anyway. So the guy's like, 3 is up to the station. So he took us up to it's just basically, it's like a wee kind of cop shop almost. And he's like, "I've not got time for this." He says, basically, handbags, as far as the policeman was concerned. I've got murders and stuff to solve. Can't be arsed with this. He says, "You two are going to stay here. You're going to leave. You're going to stay here for 10 minutes until he gets away." Right, and I was like, no hard feelings, boys. Shook hands with the two of them. And away I went down, but I've now got a couple of shiners, and my nose is all bleeding, and my shirt's all ripped. But I've got to go straight to Francis John, and it was Charles Spears, and I thought they're going to throw me out here but he was like, oh, I've just been enough times. He knew I was okay, and I got the. It was I always remember all he had in the fridge was an apple. Somebody had an apple in their fridge, in the shop fridge. It was like he's in lunch, and he cut the apple in half so I could hold it, one in each eye to try and keep the swelling. I was telling him I've got my girlfriend's funeral, and when I got to the funeral, my sister, my mother were there as well, and I got outside the church. No, I turned, and they're looking at me going, "Oh, how the hell's he managed to turn up at a funeral with two black guys?" And when I got to, of course, I'd been to my girlfriend's mum and dad's house first, and of course, she looked at me and just went, "Aye, my dad's died. I don't really give a fuck what kind of state you're in." So, which was fair enough. But it was a glamorous time, and I really enjoyed it. And I was listening to that music the other night, and I thought, and I was Clint and Charles Spears. That day, I could see that it was shut. That Saturday, I was sitting in Broomhill. It was shut. I'd been walking past it, and it was shut again during the week. Like Tuesday, Wednesday, thought when it should be open, the shutters were doing. It's a lovely looking shop. But I always thought I just popped my head in and going, "Do you remember me?" I thought maybe he doesn't remember me. And why is I fat? I just go to local barbers now, don't I? And everybody goes to local barbers. We all talk to each other, and the folk in the barbers and the barber himself, great guy, and that. Like we've always been going to the barber, and it's not true. It's not true. It did have a time when things were glamorous and things. And the thing with the 90s, the late 80s, and up to the mid 90s, is Rangers were winning the league all the time, and I don't ever want to go back. I don't ever want to go back. I like where we are to just go forward because my life completely changed and I met the person that I married and I've been with her ever since and it was meant to happen and it was all meant to happen and I think like all I'm trying to say is life's a journey, folks. Life's a journey and it's now Mossimo Barbers. It's Charles Spears. I just hope Charles Spears is alright. I never get in to say hello to him and anything like that and he wouldn't know who the hell I was, but I hope he's okay and I hope he's just retired because it was here for years in quite a posh area, the Charles Spears hairdresser. So I hope it all worked out for him because maybe if you just maybe a couple of years older than me and really your retirement age now. Life is pretty much on the downslope for me. That's a record. That's 37. Come on, because it's going to be extra intense. It's going to be extra intense this one because it was 3-0 up to actually beat Celtic. Totally loving it. So they're going to come on with an extra passion. He's going to come on with an extra passion this time to see how it goes. I have to go longer with the distraction stuff. How you doing, folks? This is your Fat Ek. Don't be sad that it's over. Just be glad it happened, and full of hateful vindication that it stopped happening at the earliest opportunity post Rangers losing 2 points again, drawing 3 each with Hibs at Easter Road. Reaction Pod coming to you in association with Gersnet. Check out Gersnet tonight. I know 9:30. The flagship show live on the YouTube channel. It is Chris Jack and Stuart Weir. I don't know who's hosting, but Chris Jack and Stuart Weir are supposed to be on it anyway. But check out Gersnet, whoever's on it. 9:30 tonight, live on the Gersnet YouTube channel. They will deconstruct this much more precisely. In fact, their show will be over by now. They'll have done it, and it'll be over, and you can move on and go on with packing away that Christmas tree or whatever. So you find wee things, don't you? You find like a wee Christmas card that slipped in the side of the couch or something like that. You find a wee Ferrero Rocher at the back of the cupboard, and it's like, still a wee bit of Christmas. Still a bit of Christmas remaining. Still a crumb from the master. I'm sponsored by Gersnet, and I'm also sponsored by the Loving Cup, the Ibrox Loving Cup. Sir Francis Joseph made the Ibrox Loving Cup, and I think we've all realised, haven't we, over the last year, that Celtic have completely disrespected they can, refuse to turn up for the Loving Cup ceremony at Ibrox all they want. They can, play to the galleries with this kind of humourless, we don't want to be seen singing God Save the King or, drinking out the same cup as, it's kind of hard to drink out the same cup as us when, we don't want to be part of anything. We're not part of any we're not half of anything. That's what it is, not half of anything, But if you listen to the Rangers historian telling you all about the history of the Loving Cup, and it was Stoke City that presented it to us, a very charitable thing, after we had helped out with a benefit game for victims of a mining disaster down there and played Stoke City, and the president of Stoke City, the chairman of Stoke City at the time, was Sir Francis Joseph of the Potteries. So if you want to disrespect the king or the queen or whatever, Celtic directors, and you want to play to certain galleries, that's absolutely fine. But if you're in Glasgow and you're disrespecting a trophy made by Francie and Josie, if Francis Joseph, the Loving Cup was presented, but you're disrespecting Francie and Josie in Glasgow, so we still win. That's the kind of level of pish I've been getting for the past few days. To somehow we still win. Well, you can all go back to being. Sorry, lots. I don't like lots of really decent Celtic fans, especially on this pod here. A cracking community, but I imagine there's hundreds of supporters are all over Celtic podcasts and websites and that, in a really kind of hypocritical, cowardly way on Thursday night and Friday morning and all that. I'm not trying to have a go. It's just people in general. There's just different types of people within every support and every group of people. But the Francie and Josie thing, I am not having that at all. I'm trying not to talk about the fact Rangers. It was like we won the. Do you know Britain have never won the America's Cup? I think Britain have never won the America's Cup. Like Australians and New Zealand and all that, and I think the Swiss have won it. They've challenged for the America's Cup. It's been going since like the 1850s, this thing, and it's Americans trying to just win it. I think they've won it through the whole 20th century, you know. But look, sailing, we're the great sailing nation, and it's Rangers. That's their record against Celtic in the Old Firm recently has been. Like, remember when Great Britain used to take on USA in the Ryder Cup as well? It was a bit like that until we actually got Europe involved, until we were subsumed into Europe. There you go, Nigel. We were absolutely crap at the Ryder Cup, and it was a bit like that. The Rangers, they needed to do something monumental, something almost. The tide against us historically in the Old Firm game was really, really bad, and it was going to take a massive impetus. A bit like, remember we got to the first European final in 36 years, and then the following game we played in Europe, we get put out by a Lithuanian team. That it's the Newton's third law of motion. The effort you've had to put in to get it is going to have an effect on you. It's going to take away from something else. A bit like when we got into the Champions League for the first time since before 2012, since the financial travails of 2012. We got into the Champions League. It was a monumental thing to get in there, and we reached the European final the previous season, but then we get horsed. Didn't win a single game. Lost one game by 6 goals. Lost one game by 4 goals, and 2 games by 4 goals. One game by couple of games with 3 goals. It was absolutely honking. I think that's what's going to happen today. It was always going to be, but we've taken away the energy required to get that monumental win against Celtic. We sucked it out of the 2 away games before we played Celtic at Ibrox, and it's still been it's taken so much out of it that we haven't had the requisite amount of energy today. My name's Alec Anderson, and I meant every word I said when I said that I love you. I meant that I love you forever. Dun, dun. I'm gonna keep on loving you. No matter what you're gonna do, I don't wanna sleep. I just wanna keep on loving you. I don't want to go back in. I'm quite happy with it. Just the glamour. We had hair. We're growing the hair back. We're getting a bit thinner. We're looking a bit better. The team today. I need to say a big congratulations to Andy Hillis. Andy Hillis, absolute legend of this here channel. He was quite right in guessing that I got this from Rob Fawcett off air. After the Jersnet podcast on Friday night that I was on, Rob said, I forgot to mention a stat. He said, you've probably heard it somebody else. And I said, have you heard it? There's a great stat about the starting lineup against Celtic at Ibrox, and it was complete. Well, I'm not going to. I'll tell you what it was if you still don't. But it was the same starting 11 today, of course. So it's like with a major selection shock when we played St Mirren in Paisley. Oh my God, Raskin's no playing. Major selection shock before we played Motherwell at Fir Park. Oh my God, Igaman and Cherney are on the bench, and oh my God, Hadji's got the flu. And today the major Thursday against Celtic. That was just like unbearable. I blanked out. Tav's no playing. Goalie, first choice goalkeeper and vice captain Jack Butland isn't playing. We knew about Suter. Balogun hasn't made it. We've got Yilmaz playing at right back. It's just, oh my God. But today, the big shock was that the starting 11 was exactly the same. 2 games in a row, biggest result of the season, domestically anyway, on Thursday there. So it's only quite right that they be rewarded. But with the exception, perhaps, of Danilo could have come in and started instead of Bajrami. I don't think there was much quibbling with it. It was just necessary that we started it. It wasn't a case of the managers decided to stop rotating the squad. It was just there's nobody really left. There in much choice in the team that played. So the starting 11 today for Rangers was in goals. My name is Joe. At right back, it was Midnight Express. Left back, we've got City of God. And our 2 centre halves. This is England and the Vanishing, the original version of the Vanishing. Centre, the sitting 2, we've got Run and Jean Dielman, 23 Quai de Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles. Oh, you can't do the words in French and then do the numbers in English. I can. I'm in a bad mood. I'll do whatever I want. At 10, we had like the bad guys for the taking. The ones that Liam Neeson's phoning up and telling he's going to come. They had them in there. Wide left of the 3, it could have been Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula, any number of Hammer House of Horror films, or even Nosferatu, the 1922 kind of German expressionist thing. But we went for 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days. That's a harrowing film. And on the right hand side, it was the unbearable lightness of being. And up front, we had Casablanca. What I'm trying to say is, at the batting goals today, we had like Saltire, the blue with the white cross through the different version of it they got in other parts of the country. At right back, we had it's red, isn't it? And it's got the crescent, white crescent. There's any other? Is there a star in that one? Or is that? It's got the crescent moon. With the flag of St George at centre half, the white with the red cross on it. Then the red, white, and blue also at centre half. What's almost a kind of orangey. Red in the bars. The sitting midfield, we had that kind of, it's like a German flag has been turned on its side, but the colour bars have been moved about a wee bit. And we had the one next to him, there was one that's like an Irish tricolour, the flag of Ireland, but it's been kind of moved. The colour bars have been swapped about really subtly in that one. Out wide on the right, it's like the flag of Poland with a blue arrow going into it for the left hand side. The way this country actually goes into Poland, it's quite representative. Sitting at 10, it's the black eagles on the red, the double-headed eagle, black eagle on the red flag, and out on the left hand side, is it blue, yellow, and red, or red, yellow, and blue? Blue, red, yellow. And in the middle, there used to be something else in the middle, didn't there? And for a while, after they ripped that thing out the middle of it, officially or unofficially, but beautifully, their flag was that with the hole in the middle of the yellow bit to represent the fact that it's like the Moldova flag a bit, but it's that's exactly the same, except for the stuff that's in the middle. And up front, it's the green, deep green star on a deep red background. It was 11 different nationalities starting for Rangers today, as started against us. So well done to Andy Hillis for knowing that, and thanks Rob, who fed that to me. It's probably not. I don't listen to other Rangers podcasts and that, but there's probably somebody else has mentioned it. But there you go. I just don't want to talk about the game, which went kind of badly. So maximal multinational 11 for Rangers International PLC. It's been the last 3 games. Before we started today, our last 3 games, it was loss, draw, win. If you want to just look at away league games, the last 3 of them were loss, draw, win. Both of those ways of looking at it include a 3-0 victory for Rangers. One all away games, it was at Ross County, and just all the last 3 league games, it's at home to Celtic. So it's varied form, it's safe to say. Getting into this game, as we kicked off, Igaman was scaring the living daylights out of them straight away. We looked really good, looked really fluid. Hibs were coming towards us straight away, but we scored after 4 minutes. We scored after 4 minutes. Liam Kelly just plays the ball out, and Igaman, he goes after the long ball from Kelly. He chases it down. He's harassing their centre halves. Bajrami picks it up, feeds it out to Hadji in the left, who kind of goes to the byline, cuts it back to almost the penalty spot, and then comes Young. Igaman to just left foot, bang, finished. Solid finish into the bottom corner from probably 8 yards out or something like that. But it was a magnificent goal. It was just a magnificent, flowing, one touch, almost counter-attacking kind of goal, and you thought, oh, is this us? Are we actually doing this? Are we going to do this? We have a big result, and then we let it bleed into the following performance. The idea that we're going to be, starting slowly and stumbling and fun. I mean, Hibs are the ones where they've got a bevy in the front of their shirt and they've got whiskey, something in the back of their shirt as well. And they were the ones that actually looked hungover. I didn't realise that Rangers had. We got a corner again like the 5th minute, and we got another corner at the 9th minute, and I didn't realise until they put the stat up on Sky that we're the best starters. We've scored the most goals in the opening 7 minutes of a game or something in the whole league this season. There's an idea going about that Rangers are really slow under Clement, really slow start. Maybe it's just me that's got that idea. I'm sure there's a criticism that's been levelled, but here we were looking fantastic. Rangers support up in the away end with the Rangers support with their big tarpaulins, the green tarpaulins over the seats, trying to make it they've got a bigger support than they really have. We see yous. Seen that tactic before. No me want to sell out your seats here and get a big green tarpaulin over the top of them, but Hibs were kind of passing really poorly. And you're thinking, is it us doing this to them? We're breaking up. The Hibs were just getting the ball straight to us. I think this is what we did to Celtic the other day. This is a new tactic. It's working. We are doing this. We're going to do this for the rest of the season. It was a breakthrough moment the other day. No, I was looking for that moment. The bit in the what was the song? The Roxy music in Every Dream Home a Heartache, where it's I blew up your body, but you blew my mind. Bam, dead, and they're kind of talking slow start to the song, which is really interesting, and everybody's just ready to start rocking. You can hear it's ready to go. That's the moment. Temporary pause, bang, explosion, and the rest of the song is just chorus skating right to the end. I thought, is that what we've done? Was that the you blew my mind against Celtic? Bang, and we're going to just chorus skate for the rest of the season, because the one-touch passing was absolutely phenomenal. With a counter-attack where Yilmaz started it with this beautiful touch, because he's supposed to take a touch on the outside, because he's playing out of position. He's playing the opposite flank to what he should be. But he just has this one touch, and it goes to Cherny, and it goes to Diamandi, and it gets played through to Igaman, and he takes a touch, but he's in like the 6-yard box by the time, and the keeper's coming out and all that, and he managed to get a kind of shot off, but the Hibs managed to squash it at the last. But it would have been the goal of the century. It would have been the most beautiful goal we'd scored all season if it had gone in. And I thought, this is it. We're stepping this up a gear, Rangers. We're going to go forwards. Hibs were getting plenty of the ball, but to say it was like what we'd done to Celtic the other day. We were just snuffing them out, almost happy to let them have the ball so we could then take it off them and attack on them, because they would come forward, and anything they're duty bound to come forward at home. And before we knew it, we got a second goal, 2-0 up within, what was it, 19th minute or something like that. And we had them boxed in. We're doing that thing that we're doing to Celtic. We're sweating them almost in their own box. We kept getting the ball. Bajrami was through in one pass from Diamandi or Cherny, I can't remember. The goalie made a save for a corner, and then Cherny, he ends up having a shot. It makes the goalie have a save down to the same post, goes out for another corner. We work it again. I think it's Hadji took the corner. And Igaman, I think it might have been Igaman who was challenging for it initially, almost gets in the end of it. It's defended, it comes out, but they just clear it, and Raskin's got it. He's there to keep them boxed in their own box, and he feeds it to Dio. Bajrami goes down the left-hand side, he crosses it, and there's Igaman up, bang, header. I've seen the goalkeeper get a hand to it, but he's just pushing it in the top corner. It's away. He's not going to stop it. And I'm dancing about the living room and all that, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I'm hearing that's the first goal we've scored for a header in the league this season. What can that be? We've just gone over. We're into now. We're over halfway through the season. It's our 20th game. I don't know. If that's a true start, that's a. It doesn't matter how you score them. I suppose it's just how many you can score. But it was sumptuous football. It's sumptuous, and Igaman coming out for the Rangers into the tune of Super Ali. That was cool. And what you had here was a situation where 9 straight Rangers goals. No, it's not nice. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, 6, 7. 7, because we scored two at Fir Park in the second half at Fir Park. And you get 3 without reply at Parkhead, so that's 5, and 2 the day 7. So 7 goals in less than 2 games without reply. The Rangers were scoring. The Niggerman's got 4 of them, and you're thinking, yeah, this is. I can see what's happening here. This is the manager. It's one of those little moments where the manager's turned it round, and you obviously the result against Celtic, the real standout. But you don't know that even when we're coming back from 2-0 down to 2 each, at Fir Park, we're starting this process. It's going to see us running away with this game, maybe even closing the gap on Celtic at the top of the table and turning this into a league race or something like that. Certainly be setting ourselves up going forward anyway, the way we're starting in this game. I think the 22nd minute, Hibs won a corner. Kelly just claimed it nice and cleanly, but we need a third thing. We need a third goal. I was shouting after 67 minutes on Thursday against Celtic, and I was shouting it after 20 minutes today, and it's true. You do. I think the earlier you go 2-0 up, it can almost make the game seem a bit freakish. If you go 2-0 up really early, and when the opposition can pull one back, it's like, oh yeah, this is a freak show. This is going to be end to end. Both teams are going to be scoring lots of goals. You want to get that third and just build up an unassailable lead. And we just couldn't get that third goal, and it did come back to Raskin. There's in the 28th minute, Raskin plays the ball straight out around the halfway line, and it looks like a bad ball, but he's looking at Yilmaz just kind of with the arms outstretched, going, "Why onto that?" And it gave you an indication of both the speed at which Clermont was wanting us to play. The tactic was just one touch. We've got better footballers going forward. Let's not give them a chance to settle, Hibs. And that's the way we had been playing for that 20 minutes, but it also showed maybe Yilmaz was starting to lose a bit of steam. He's not been playing a lot this season, giving it everything on Thursday. Obviously, a lot of them were leaving it all out in the park on Thursday at Ibrox. And is that the moment, if you got to pin it down to one particular moment where you thought it's starting to not work? This amazing tactic. It was about, 3 or 4 minutes later that Hibs pulled it back to 2-1. Diamandi stood on Boyle's ankle with the studs there. Definitely did. The slow motion replay shows it definitely fouled him. The VAR check for a possible red. Chris Sutton's wanting a yellow card for it, but it was Boyle who scores the goal 2 minutes later, so it's obviously fine. Hibs sent a free kick from slightly to the left, or slightly to our right hand side of the box, sent it over to the other side. I think the right back, the number 2 anyway, goes up. Big fella, he heads it back across the box. Bit of head tennis, bit of bobbling about. Rangers nowhere near defending this thing properly. Nowhere near defending this thing properly at all. It was terrible, kind of very standoffish. And Hibs are they're covering the ball. They're backing into our players to give cover to Boyle, who just walks up and strokes it into the far bottom corner. 2-1. They're straight back into it, and it's like, this is a mental game. And we get that stat about it was 2-1 on goals, but it was 10-1 on shots on target. And this from loving the kind of creativity to suddenly be moaning about the fact we're actually becoming wasteful. We're so wasteful. I think it's part of the whole theme of the day in terms of what's been thrown as criticism at Philippe Clermont, that anything we do positively, unless you can see it right through and realise it completely and make it a total positive. It's not good enough to beat Celtic 3-0. If you then don't win the following game. So were we not supposed to beat Celtic 3-0? Was that, It's no good enough to have all this possession if you can't finish it all. It's no good enough to score 3 goals in a game if you lose 3 goals. No, it isn't. Obviously, we want to do all those things. We want to win all our games. We want to be, scoring 5. So we want to score from every chance going forward. But I think it's a team that's getting rebuilt, and they basically played like that today. We're really wasteful. I'm trying to think of what else to say. It just became, after that, it was a kind of, we didn't stop playing at that point, but that was the moment that we just knew Raskin is that bit where he plays the ball out the halfway line. Hibs score a few minutes later, and the idea, as we went towards Hibs were getting a lot of corners throughout the game. I think about 10 corners or something in the course of the game. We get a few ourselves as well. But Nicky Cadden get booked for a foul, studs on Raskin, It's looked at a bad one actually. I would like to see VAR up that to a red card, because by that point it was just at half time, already starting to think Hibs are coming right back into this game. They've got a bit of momentum, and we looked good for two or three counter attacks, but Hibs were starting to genuinely kind of dominate a bit as we got towards half time. Half time had two boiled eggs, pot of tea, some muesli with a banana in it, and a packet of Bernard Matthews roast turkey, 4 roast turkey slices, 2 petticoat tails. There's a couple of pots of tea. It didn't work. Didn't work at all. That's the sports science failed us again. First 10 minutes of the second half, no changes for us. No changes for either team at half time. First 10 minutes of the second half, we dominated again, but Hefty was having a couple of dodgy touches and the one touch stuff. This was a team that was tired. This was a selection that was tired, and it was starting to not happen. Igaman had a shot, kind of saved well. Cherny and Hadji got in each other's ways. They come through. We were still building up nice moves going through Hibs, but as we went through on goal, it was starting to go wrong. 54th minute, Hibs made a wee substitution of their own to kind of freshen things up, and by the 58th minute, they got a penalty. So it definitely worked for them. They got a cross into our box. It's taken easily by Kelly, but we then give the ball away just twice outside their own box. Was it Cherny's kind of running away up the wing, still deep in his own half, and tries a pass inside that's awful. Diamandi comes in and cleans that up for him, wins the tackle, and he's away from the guy, and then gives the ball to Hibs again. It ends up with Dwight Gale playing in Campbell as he comes running into the box, and Yanis Hadji goes in there and is adjudged to have fouled him in the box. Campbell goes to ground. It's very soft in terms of penalties. Beaton gives it. John Beaton, referee, he gives it as a penalty, and it's not adjudged to being a bad enough decision that VAR are going to overturn it. So that's just it. And you think if we want to properly get behind Philip Clement, we could circle the wagons here. If we want to behave like other clubs, we could circle and just start this campaign against the referee, and that's certainly what Philip Clement was trying to do. Afterwards, he thought it was an awful decision, but I don't think there's no an appetite for that yet. This is the problem Clement's got. Stuff like this, the Rangers support won't even support him in major numbers when there's a dodgy decision going against us. It's a bit another 3-each draw for us, another controversial moment. This time it's controversial because Kevin Clancy's on VAR. He can't get involved because it's not a bad enough decision. Obviously they do check it VAR, but it's not a bad enough decision that he can overturn it. It's the on-field decision this time that you can perhaps debate, but it's nowhere near as terrible a decision as we didn't get in extra time of the League Cup final. So it is soft, but I think it's one of those ones where most of us as Rangers supporters, the way things are going in this game, you're like, well, you've left yourself open to that kind of decision. You've let him come into the box. Hadji, the way his legs connect as well, it was reminding me of the incident with Lagerbielka last season. With Dessers, it looked more as if the Hibs player was stopping Hadji's stride, but by that point, Hadji's got his backside into the back of the fella, down he goes. It's one of those ones. If it's your team, you think it's a stone waller. If it's not your team, you think it's very, very soft. But Boyle steps up and he puts it in right down the middle, or right up the middle, goes in kind of high into the net. But Liam Kelly dives out the way of it, and but then we've got flipping. Oh, it's a hat trick. It's going to be a hat. Who's going to get a hat trick first? Is it going to be Boyle? Is it going to be Eggett? Oh, this is great. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Couldn't care less. 58 taking a 66. There's a whole lot of minutes. There's a whole lot of midfield nothing from us. Poor choices. Poor choices, but I think then Dwight Gale is allowed to have a header from about 8 yards out. Kelly saves it, but he's almost kind of not picked up. It's Sterling, Dujon Sterling's behind him, but Sterling gets injured in the challenge. We've got Leon King and Ciala waiting on the bench, but ends up, it's about 69 minutes. Leon King has to come on for Dujon Sterling. Running at the 70 minutes mark, Cortez comes on for Hadji, Danilo comes on for Bajrami, and we did not get the uplift that these substitutions. Maybe the energy is going to be up by this point in time. Hibs are picking off our quick passes. The quick passes that were working so well in the first half, Hibs are picking them off. They've altered it a bit in the midfield. 5 at the back, Hibs, and 3 midfield, 2 up front. I think they've just pushed a bit up from the back, a spare body going up to snuff us out in midfield and snuff us out in our own area, and it's like they're now doing to us what we were doing to them in the first half. We're becoming their creative force. We're becoming their creative energy. You know, we're playing. It's us that are getting the ball near our own box, and Hibs just go in and take the ball off us, and they're through on goal. I think because we lack physicality, the only solution is we've got skillful players. Let's try and always have the ball on the deck. Hibs have scored. We've scored like left foot, right foot header from Egaman today, but Hibs have scored free kick, penalty, corner kick. It's all set pieces because they've got big fellas, and their lack of physicality has really cost us. The solution to that is when you're smaller, you play faster, you play quicker. But as this team is getting more and more tired, today the Hibs were picking them off. They were getting the ball. You wanted Rangers to go long. We needed to start going long instead of playing it across the back in our own half. I mean, in the first half, Hefty is knocking Hefty, and Yilmaz was reciprocating these width of the pitch balls from deep in their own half, they're basically starting positions as the opposite wing backs, but they're just knocking the ball right across to each other, and it was fine. They were cut, but then Hefty starts giving it away in the second half. So Yilmaz wasn't getting onto it as much as he should have. But nevertheless, 74th minute, Egaman puts us 3-2 up. A perfect hat trick. It's great control and patience from Rangers round about the Hibs box. I'm like, oh, just going to get a bloody goal for this, but we keep the ball, we maintain the ball. A few, just poking for an opening. It wasn't quite happening. We move it out to the right hand side where Czerny plays up, just waits, just makes a space for himself, and Egaman reads it perfectly. He goes across the front of the defender, and it's the right foot finish, I think, this one, into the bottom corner again. An absolutely sumptuous goal, but I was kind of but I wasn't really going mental for that goal because it already the pattern had been established that Hibs could smell blood. I saw in that game against Aberdeen where I think Aberdeen took the lead against them in injury. Hibs scored twice in injury time. They scored in injury time, and Aberdeen then went up the park and took the lead again, and Hibs come back and equalised again deeper in injury time. So you knew that they're on a bit of a run just now. They're in good form just now, Hibs. So they definitely would given them a sense of doing something special. They just, after us being 2-0 up, just needs to be a draw. I still remember the 5 each draw we had with Hibs at Easter Road. It can go mental in games with them. So I wasn't feeling as if that was going to be needing another goal. We need to get a fourth goal. At that point, 74th minute, we got that third goal. I thought we're going to need a fourth just to ensure we get a point out of this game the way it's going. 81st minute, Czerny goes off, Barron comes on, Dio went out wide. We're trying to kind of shore things up a bit. Doesn't really work. Hibs got a corner at 83rd minute. We just can't get rid of them. We can't get rid of Hibs at all. What's the big fella's name? But he heads it. He just basically heads it straight in for the corner. I mean, Liam Kelly's, somebody's got a hand on Liam Kelly or is backing into him, but it's no way it's a foul. It's just really bad. Not in any way strong goalkeeping. Leon King, feel sorry for Leon King. He's not been getting a game for a reason. He's not the level we require, and he's a young fellow who's been totally deep-ended in this one. He's just kind of jumping about in the air without making having any effect at all in defending our goal. It's all our fault. This goal, we're all at sea. But at the heart of it, you maybe can say you've got Kelly and Leon King, but these are guys that have got 3.1 first team games between them this season. So it's just about the fact that our squad isn't dense enough. It looked a bit dense there, but it's not thick enough. It's not strong enough. And then just to add insult to injury, that's it. It's 3 each. Egaman, Bashiri had scored the goal for the equaliser for Hibs there, their second equaliser of the game. But 89, 90 minutes, Egaman dispossesses him on the halfway line, Big Bashiri, and he just drives. He drives through. Bashiri comes back and tries to put him up, but he made the space for himself, and he just slips it past the post, and that's it. That's lost the chance to actually win the game. Although in the 4 minutes at injury time, Hibs were constantly attacking. They were constantly getting the ball off us and constantly posing a threat, and I came to the point I just thought we're going to be lucky to actually get a point here the way it had been going, and a point it was. Egaman today, I think, summed up that is a perfect summation of the way this season has been going. You get it's like perfect hat trick he scored, and yet he ends up probably the headline for him will be missing the chance at the end that could have won us the game. We're not allowed to enjoy anything, but we're doing plenty of good stuff that you don't want to write off, you don't want to ignore. but it's just we're not getting to really enjoy anything. We beat Celtic on the Thursday night. We've got to play again on the Sunday. We can't even sit back and have a week or anything to enjoy the win over Celtic, to let that bed in, let a few players come back and back up this, kind of augment the squad. It's tough at the top. It's the same for everybody. This is where we want it. We want this amount of games, but it was hard to take today. I think that the only thing for me is you're trying to sort out where is it that's gone wrong? What is it that's gone wrong? And you try. I think we always supporters want an easy fix, but a lot of the things that we've been criticising the team for, I mean, we didn't rotate today. We didn't. We certainly didn't start slow. We've scored plenty of goals. This is us on the Rangers on the road. We've been horrific at the back in a way that I think we should have been on Thursday. We expected on Thursday that Celtic were going to take us to pieces at the back, the way Hibs did today. But I mean, James Tavernier wasn't playing today, so even the people who were using the win, the Rangers fans were using the win over Celtic by 3-0 with no Tav in the squad to say I knew Tav was the problem. Even they kind of walk away from this one and say, well, that's that proves my point. Tav's not. There's just no kind of. It's almost like we're a team who is just needing this season to get to know each other, to strengthen in terms of the board buying us new players, and we're going to need a few of them now quicker than ever. It's just a rebuild season, and this is exactly how this is what it looks like. This is how it works. It's, a part of me was thinking, if we'd had this squad, the injuries to the first team squad that we have just now, these two games, we're starting with the same 11. A surprise starting 11 it would have been if you'd mentioned this at the beginning of the season. But this same 11 players have started this 2 games in the trot. If it'd been the other way around, you go to Easter Road and we draw 3 each, you think, oh, that's what's going to happen when you have so many injuries, you have so many players having to play out of position and stuff like that. We then go to, Ibrox and beat Celtic 3-0 in the second of these 2 games. It's like, yeah, you get a chance to say, well, that's Clement knows how to tweak things. He's managed to get a performance out of them. But the emphasis now is on the fact that we did beat Celtic 3-0 is only emphasising how bad it was that we weren't able to beat Hibs today. For me, it's something like a better version today, slightly, of that 3-0 defeat at Parkhead. Where we had a good opening 11 minutes back in September against Celtic at Parkhead, but couldn't score a goal. We ended up getting pumped. Well, here today, it's a kind of great opening half hour. We score twice, and we get another eventually in the game. But we draw rather than getting pumped. But of course, the Edinburgh Hibernians are nowhere near as good this season. I mean, Hibs are a run of, was it 1 loss in 8 games? They're definitely the form team in Scotland right now. But I say the Edinburgh Hibernians are nowhere near as good as this season as the Glasgow club, which stole their players and stole the U from their USP back in 1888. No one, least of all, Mr. Baiting You, Luke Shanley, is going to let the manager have any kind of mitigation, let Clement have any. He's saying to him, when Clement's talking about the fact that it shouldn't have been a penalty against us. It shouldn't have been a penalty against us. Shanley, he talked about it and went to VAR. VAR thought it was a good enough decision. No, they didn't think it was a bad enough decision. And then Shanley is insistent on the fact that, yeah, but you threw the game away. You were winning 3-2. You're still winning the game. At no point did Clement think to say, well, we would have been winning 3-1. That's the whole point. We would have been winning 3-1 if that penalty hadn't been given against us. And that kind of sums up the fact that he's not going to be allowed off the hook. People smell blood. They want blood. They want to get rid of Philip Clement. In a day like today, you can't particularly blame them. It's the pain of it as well. For me, the pain of it, the fact that we don't just go there and it's a 0-0 draw. Both teams are one team's kind of cautious, the other team's kind of tired. Or it's a 1-1 draw and both the goals are maybe either side of half time. It's got to be, we're 2-0 up. We've got a guy who's got a hat trick. We're 3-2 up with, what was it? We're 3-2 up with kind of 10 minutes to go, and we eventually we end up chucking it away, and we get presented with a chance to win it in the last minute of normal time. That's growing pains. That is growing pains for me. That's when you're getting so close, that it makes it painful when it doesn't happen, or you can taste it, but it gets taken away from you. That's better, than going to Paisley and being Paisley and Fir Park and be terrible and losing. Been terrible in the first half, the whole first half, and losing both those games at half time and losing one of them at full time as well. At Paisley, it's getting. I think there's general improvement, and this is just the reality of what it looks like when you are not going to win the league. I thought a lot of people would be prepared to say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting us to win the league this season." This is what it looks like. If you thought we were going to win the league this season, if you thought that's Rangers' target, the expectation, the context this season is we need to win the league title, well then that's that. You will want Clement sacked because it's nowhere near that. But it's like the idea that it's this thing of you can provide big results. We're kind of a one-off match type of team under Clement. He went on runs last season. The away form, the terrible thing, of course, sorry, I'm not actually articulating it, is the away form, our domestic away form. There's no emphasis at all. It's emphasised by the fact that our home form is great. You know, we might not be putting in scintillating performances all the time at Ibrox, but domestically we've dropped 2 points. There was one game we haven't won domestically at home, be that Hampden or Ibrox as our home. And that was against Dundee United. That one each draw with Dundee United, which was, of course, the end of the world. Went in a wee run after that. Our performances in Europe have been flipping magic generally. You know, a bit of a scudding off Lyon and a bad one with a couple of injuries and a sending off at home to Dynamo Kiev. But on the road, they were absolutely phenomenal in Europe. So it's not like taking these amazing successes in individual games and then using them as a stick to beat us isn't the way you're going to get forward with any manager. This is not. You need to accept. Sorry, you don't need to accept anything. You know, you've switched this podcast off a long time before now. You need to accept that I'm going to be a verbose and a pain in the arse, and I'm probably going to stick up for the manager. If you want to listen to this, but that's about it. You don't need to accept anything. I just think the state we are in financially, it's so self-evident that this is what progress to be getting the results we are getting in Europe, apart from anything else, is great. To be now comfortably in second place, you know, as you know, in the context of not being third, is that's something we'll never get credit for. But it was something we're worried about at the beginning of the season, where Aberdeen went on the kind of freakish run. The fact that we are just averaging 2 points a game, like clinically, 40 points, 20 games played, is both a criticism and a sign that this idea that we're inconsistent under Clement is overblown. We're consistent at too low a level, but I just think this is what's going to happen, and it will be at Ibrox where we can kind of incubate this baby of a rebuild, this kind of nascent team that we've got here. It's obviously going to be at home that it's most comfortable. Away from home, we are terrible. Domestically, away from home, we are terrible. In Europe, away from home, we're magnificent. Hibs today, I think they basically had the same possession today at home as we had against Celtic at home. So it's becoming this kind of, you know, mid-block type thing. Is trying to build up a kind of counter-attacking thing is the big tactic in Rangers games. That's where the debate is all around how well that's executed. It's almost like Rangers didn't win the game today because we had nearly 70% possession. That's not what we want. Stylistically, that is going to be a problem for us going forward. No pun intended. But no, Hibs, I think they had 6 shots on target. They've scored half of them. We've had 9 shots on target. We've only scored a third. We still need to be finishing better. We still need to be getting a better return from the possession we have. We're going to have to. Sterling is injured today. I don't know the extent of anything. I haven't watched any of the post-match in-depth interviews on Rangers TV or anything like that. But Sterling's injured. He had to go off a day. Proper get booked. I'm hearing that means he's suspended for Dens Park, because we will have instantly on Thursday night. Our next game is another crack. We're wearing a Dundee kit today practically. We're having another crack at this away record domestically. Rascan suspended for that as well. So you know, this is January. I've not been doing you any transfer rumours and like that, because they are just rumours until somebody signs. But we could maybe just do with any targets we've got at all. Neil's, just get them signed now. I don't somebody up front, because we could maybe outscore somebody. You know, a bit of better finishing today, and we're winning this game 4-3, 5-3. But at the back, I think we can't be relying on Leon King. Certainly, we're not going to be able to rely on Proper. We need Balogun hopefully coming back. I don't know how far away John Suter is. We need Tav to come in. but it's the bodies. We are just lacking bodies if we have got any targets, particularly of a defensive hue, a defensive bent. Getting them bought tomorrow and getting them in that team for Thursday night, because we really are just looking for something to plug the gaps. Just now, there's a thirst to get the big man sacked, to get our manager sacked. There's also a resignation among some folk that he's not going to get sacked until the end of this. I don't know. There's nothing unexpected today. I was expecting it to be. There was always a chance within the game itself. The way we started, you hoped, of course, this is how we're going to plough forward. Now we're going to be brilliant, scoring, winning 3-0 every game from now to the end of the season domestically. But in terms of looking at it overall, you just knew that there could be still some kind of hangover from the result against Celtic, the amount, the performance against Celtic more than anything else. The physicality that we put into that was quite draining, and so it has transpired. Sobered up, 3 down, back to work tomorrow. But the one thing I will say is that after that, the diet is not going to start on Monday. It's going to start on Tuesday. That's my kind of sports science. And no, it hasn't been working. I have to be honest. You're right, Boydie. The sports science, it just isn't working.